let's raise a toast. You bought the top, we shorted the hype. You read our blog, we read the tape right. Volume surged, we saw it first. Posted that setup before it burst. We ride the rip, we fade the fake. We meme the market till the close bell shakes. Tag your tickers, shoot your shot. This ain't a cult, it's just too hot. Stocktwits knows that your Discord slow. We were live while your alerts said no. Streaming charts, making gains, throwing shade. Community rip is where legends are made. Stocktwits knows and the algos froze. We're the edge while your strategy blows. Your DMs dry, our alerts explode. Stocktwits wins, just thought you'd know. Stocktwits knows and your Discord slow. We were live while your alerts said no. Streaming charts, making gains, throwing shade. Community rip is where legends are made. Stocktwits knows this ain't for show. We move fast while the boomers grow. Forget your forums, forget your posts. Stocktwits wins, coast to coast. Stocktwits knows. You just caught the top.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh man, the top.
we're back. Nick, did you miss that intro or what?
Yeah, that was great. I like the
Hey,
mullet.
for those who don't know, you're watching the Community Rip live right here on whatever place you're streaming it. Stocktwits is your home for the Community Rip. We're here every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Got myself in Holdingbags, if you will. Gotum, Gpaisa, Nick, Jfdi. Those are our handles across whatever socials you want to find us on or interact with us on. But right now we're on Stocktwits Community Rip Live. Nick, welcome back. It's so good to see you. I was just saying you've got an aura around you or better lighting or something. I'm claiming it's vacation. But how are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. It was we were gone Wednesday through Saturday. So I actually been back for, Monday, Tuesday, but it was kind of slow getting back to the internet socials.
Well, you missed a hell of an episode. I hope you watched it live on demand.
Yeah,
whenever with
I have not had an opportunity yet, but I'm going to. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Did we do you proud?
I haven't caught it yet.
Oh my God, he's part
Thanks,
of the
Randy.
show. He's not even watching their own stuff.
I will. I know.
GP, I thought it was a very good combo with Howie. Howard laid out his perspective, which is different than maybe the way the rest of us look at it, but I thought that was valuable for all of our watchers and listeners and followers.
Yeah. Maybe we get sponsored by Chobani, but it was really nice to see Howard come on and talk with us about different mindsets and longevity and timeframes, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't focus on.
No.
And the more you focus on it, the older you get usually, because you've got screen time. The less you do, the more you enjoy it, right? So we're a bit younger than Howie, but I think that resonates for us. Hopefully, our listeners too, especially if you're young and you're in your mid-20s. If you're expecting Lucid to go nuts, probably not the right call. But there's other names that you can buy and hold, or you can just dollar cost average into the Qs and the SPY over time. And there are semi-passive strategies that longevity wins quite often than not, especially an index that's designed to go up and to the right. Because if you underperform, you get dropped, right? Like it's literally in the DNA of the index to go up and to the right. So timing
index like the Russell, the IWM, not necessarily put together like that, because if you do too good, you're out, right? You're in another place. But I think we should start today's show with talking about small caps and the continuation of Shitco summer.
Yeah, I love it. So far, shitco summer is just rotating between shitcos. But like I said, I think about a month ago, these aren't actually shitcos, right? Like they are companies with bases, they are companies with earnings, they are companies that were shitcos in 2021 are not necessarily shitcos here. IWM is in a monster 4-year base, 5-year base. And so if these companies are executing, this index will start to play out. If you get the rate cuts, it adds more fuel to the fire. But I think if people are underlying just missing the fact that these companies that are sitting in these small and mid cap timeframes or market caps are actually executing, right? Look, Carvana is one of the greatest examples of our time here. Gone from like 99% down to all-time highs in this because their management figured out what they needed to focus on, and that was profitability. And it's gotten to the all-time highs and got smoked a little bit, but ultimately it still executed. It still did what it needed to do. You can say it's fraud, you can say whatever it is, but price doesn't lie ultimately.
Nick, I've got the chart of the IWM up here. It's had a lot of touches near the bottom of this range. Do you like it at the top of the range now?
Yeah, so the way that I would look at the base is basically back at the beginning of the chart where you have that red gap up in late 2020. So if I labeled that one to the top of the range 2, then back to the bottom of the range 3, then we tested highs, that's 4, and then the most recent basically tariff sell-off would be the 5th leg within this base. So I am obviously bullish, and I would be here, but in the event that the breakout fails and we don't bust out of this, I would get a lot more cautious and less likely to buy as price is kind of pushing back up into that range, because I would think it would just need more time of like fucking around. Like within a pattern or a base, what I'm saying is I like to see 5 legs. And if it doesn't break out of those 5 legs after those 5 legs, then it's just kind of like, well, I'll just set my alerts and whatever. But I'm also not trading the IWM specifically either.
Let's just call it 233 here. If it didn't blow
Sure.
through 233 and showed weakness, would you look to re-enter as long as it was holding these moving averages? Would you want it to
I wouldn't waste my time.
That would be pain if it fell back into the 170s, right? That would be
because the idea here is that price is breaking out of a big stage 1 base or a big base. So your bias is obviously to the long side, and you're wanting to see follow through. If you're not going to get that follow through, then what you're looking at is dead money. So it's just like I'm not looking to buy like a higher low. If it was like an individual name, I think it's a different story. But in terms of like the IWM specifically, it's like I'm not going to wait. Why would I waste my time?
What about you, GP? Do you see it sort of the same way? If it lost maybe those moving averages, would you be worried about the IWM or the broader market as a whole?
Yeah, so to me, Nick, very similar conversation around here. That was a breakaway gap in 2020, that red candle that you have on IWM. It came back and made a monster base there over 2022 and 2023, tried to break out in 2024 and essentially put in a double top. The result of a double top is usually back to the bottom of the range. Boom, you got the bottom of the range. You got the spring set up essentially from you guys who are following Elliott Wave or any of the other things. But this is the spring setup into a monster base. So if price does not behave as expected, which is breakout from here, and typically double top breakouts, if you're watching what's going on in the Qs right now and what you're watching in the SPY, is about a 10% move, and then comes back and retests that level. So if anything kind of goes against that grain, you got to put up red flags, because the technical setups are there, and so far the technicals are working. And if they stop working then you got to be like, all right, I throw in the flag and I throw in the towel and I reassess what's going on here. But right now, the way that's setting up is we could potentially take out all-time highs by Friday, right? We have PPI coming in tomorrow. CPI obviously caused about a 3% move here. It's pent-up demand and aggression here going into an OPEX Friday. That's talking about another 5 to 7% move from here, right? Which is kind of mind-blowing to me. But IWM doesn't do anything in small amounts, right? It always goes balls to the wall in whatever landscape it decides to choose. Look, man, like from the tariffs, it got smoked for what, 25% without even flinching, if not more? No, it went all the way to 170, right? So lost 31% or 35%. So and straight down, right? Not even, but so to me, that breakaway gap happened to also be the 50% retracement of the entire COVID move, right? So you have multiple confluences that are setting up here that at the 50% retrace of the bottom of COVID to the top of COVID was exactly where it started to base. And it was a very frustrating base for a lot of people, but it was still a base. It was range bound to this area. So, and then you have a test to that. And when you get a test to a base, that's not as important as the reaction from that test, right? And the test from that base was boomsticks, right? It was actually one of the better performing indices on April 9th or that week of April, right? And then it's been lagging since. Then Qs and SPYs have taken over. But one of the first ones out of the gate was IWM, right? So you have a lot of confluences in this chart that are setting up for a bigger breakout. And without that price supporting that breakout, then yeah, Ben, to answer your original question, it's time to reassess.
You're not getting it on the weekly, but I mean today, if it could hold this close, man, that's a pretty strong breakaway candle, at least on the near term.
Yeah, there's the play for you, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, obviously, we've been on shitco summer for months now, right? I think in May we did our picks for shitco summer, something like that. And these were just names that we thought would perform pretty well. Nick, I think you went with Tempest, right? And I mean,
it's gone nowhere.
Well, I mean, it's showing strength this week.
Yeah.
Right. So if you came out of the hype from, February and traded it back into May when we called shitco summer, you might be up something like 20% or so. That's nothing to sneeze at.
You're right. I feel you.
Nick, you like those multi-baggers. What's wrong with 20% these days, man?
I mean, nothing at all. I just like it better when the stock's breaking out and ripping.
All right. Well, let's go to one that's breaking out and ripping.
Give me the easy money.
Dub up in the club, GP.
Yeah, that was a sick call.
Dude, so this chart obviously has been basing for a really long time, and I've talked about the accumulation with egg on my face for many, many, many years now. I had all these lines drawn on my chart from all that base, and one of the more detailed ones I don't share with everyone. There's about 17 lines on there, like horizontals, like resistance levels, and this move since April has crushed every single one of those. So yeah. Like the same way when technicals don't hold on the downside is the same rippage that happens on the upside, right? So if you're breaking through each one of those levels, you stay patient and you ride the train. This chart has an insane, go to the monthly, insane quarterly as well. Sorry, let's start with the quarter first.
Sure.
Right? Like this is an insane amount of volume accumulation in this name at the COVID lows, at the IPO lows. Like there's the confluence is sick, right? So that's why I've been talking about this for so long, and it hasn't worked. So I'm not shining any halos, but it is now starting to work. And now because of the base and the support that's there, it's breaking through the levels that you didn't think it would break through before, which is an inherently bullish thing in itself, right? So love Wayfair overall. I struggle to see where it can continue going up, but hey, I'm not gonna argue it until I get one of those volatility candles where it's like tries to break out and has like a 10% move lower, right?
It just needs to bust through that 85 GP. That's all it's next, right?
Yeah, on its way, honestly, on its way probably back to 150. Right? But do you have the patience for it? So that's the key.
Well, there's a lot of juice to be squeezed if that's the case. That's only 100% nearly from here.
Yeah, and I think that 150 is the level that I've how many times did I choose it and get destroyed? Yeah. So
that was in another show in another life. We're not keeping score, but I was always the stock champion. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hey, I mean, one thing that GP, I think you started off with was some rotation in the shitco areas. My pick, or one of my nods, was Roku, and I mean, it did really well since May, but it had an earnings fall off. And GP, are there other names that you're looking at that the shitcos are rotating to, or is it just coming to me and all my mega cap tech?
So like if you're looking at this, right, the hot names going into earnings were Hims, Rocket Labs, Coinbase, and not you as much, but those three were the really kind of hot names amongst retail and stuff like that, pushing, and then earnings, they cooled off. Oh, ASTS is another one.
Yep.
And they all just took time to cool off and rebuild their contingency for the next push higher. But while that's happening, the names that have not broken out, the bases that we've talked about as well, Lemonade, Tempest AI is starting to move, right? U is starting to move. So like you're seeing the rotation within the small cap names as well. And I think the biggest thing of all this is you got to see what's happening in XBI, right? It's a big component.
You'll be very happy to hear that.
Right? That's a monster move for XBI in the weekly. It's also breaking the range of the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, last month, 2 months, 3 months. So whether it continues, that is the thing that everyone's been looking for in XBI, because it's been beaten down ever since Hillary in 2015, which is a decade, by the way, which is nuts. But if this builds, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be wild if or when this thing does actually break out. Like, it's going to, I mean, yeah, it's going to be unreal.
Nick,
you're already seeing like a ton of like shitty little bios, like, ripping. Like,
yeah. What are you watching, Nick? What are you watching in this sector?
God, what was the one that popped up? God, it wasn't rare. I didn't pull the trigger on any of them.
Nick, look at BBIO in the meantime as well.
BBIO.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
All right.
Yeah,
like
BBIO looks great.
And crisp and edit, and we can go through the list. Gilead broke out of a 10-year base.
Yeah, I was going to say the one that popped up on my screen was PBYI. But this is kind of like the whole reason this was on my watch list was just that somebody else had mentioned it on Stocktwits, and it just pops on, and then like I'll throw alerts on it, once I throw it on there. So I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of kind of these like small bios just popping and ripping, but it's like I don't know. I feel like they would be tough. They are tough to hold, especially for, in a long-term swing. You might step on a few landmines. or get hit with a couple grenades.
So there's only one shitco that has not participated?
GLD. Yeah. GLD. I forgot about GLD.
I'm listening.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm listening.
Tesla.
Yeah, I think it's time for Tesla and Apple to kind of like to join the party.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think Tesla is going to 400, like quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that every day, and then it gets slapped after $6.
No. See, you know,
Yeah,
you guys
is
know how I feel about.
Yeah,
the
GH looks
company and
fantastic.
the CEO of this company, but I think it's going to 400, quick, fast, in a hurry.
I hope so.
I think we've retested the breakout. I've got the daily chart up here, but you can look at the weekly too. I think we're retesting this breakout right here. I think that's what's about to happen.
Yeah, and look, go back to the weekly for a second.
Sure.
The one thing that you'll see on these charts is it's a weekly gap up, right? And look at the other weekly gap ups in the last 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, right? They've been like, so the latest one is that one from May, that weekly gap up, right? It continued and moved out higher. So it's got all the setups to move out higher. It's just this week, I guess it's because of OPEX. It tries to go and then gets slapped, tries to go and then gets slapped, and there's literally no volume here. It's just getting slapped up.
Setup that I always like, and that's when you have little cups just continue to do their thing. Little cups doing their thing, and I don't. That's this is just me doodling. That's out to the end of the year. I don't think it's going to take that long to get up here to the 400 level.
Yeah.
I even like it so much, I put my name on it.
Perfect. And like the number one thing that happened yesterday was over the last 3 months, ever since the Trump divorce, every time it gaps up, it comes back and fills the gap like 5 days later. And yesterday tried to fill the gap and held. Today tried to fill the gap again and held. So it's slowly turning tides, which is not the usual for Tesla, which when it turns, it turns on a dime.
The divorce.
The Trump divorce, yes.
Yeah, you just called it the divorce. Do you think that since the divorce, there has been better will to this company? Because as we know, early in the year when he was an advisor and whatever of Doge, this stock was in a little bit of a free fall, so to speak.
So I don't think the public opinion has changed of him, personally.
What about it? I'm talking investor, not the public. I'm talking investor.
So I think investors are still pretty frustrated with the fact that 9 out of 10 posts on his Twitter feed is all about Grok and nothing else, and then he'll throw in random Tesla retweets, or he just doesn't have anything to say positive about Tesla yet until they get, I don't know, approved for whatever, right? That they need to go forward. Maybe they're still working on some release of something. But look, he's been retweeting Grok images. I'm like, this is the CEO of like 72 companies, and he's retweeting Grok Imagine videos and pictures. I'm like, there's got to be better things for him to do. But he's wonderfully crafted. I'm saying he's wonderfully crafted his stock to go higher over
images from Grok. He just got a huge salary adjustment.
Yeah. I get it. But that's a salary that was supposed to be his anyway. That's a whole different conversation, right? We can go on. We can do a whole podcast.
No, I'm just saying that regardless of what the perception of he's doing, they still felt compelled to give him the salary increase. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But he's been unpaid since 2018. Right? I don't think he's actually ever drawn a salary in his time as Tesla either.
Those stock options don't count as salary.
No, they don't. They call it the count as stock options. Total comp, right, is what they call it.
Okay. So his salary, total comp, same difference in my opinion. It's all going into his pocket. Nick, what do you like about Tesla? What don't you like about Tesla?
I think one thing that I like is so that the ATR is starting to fall off on the weekly, which just means that price is starting to tighten up, and kind of just within the range that it's in, it is kind of perpetually getting later. It's not horizontal based, which I don't know, depending on how you want to play it. Like, when it gets real tight, it can allow you to, really size up in a position. At the same time, like, I feel like every time I do that, it completely fucks me, where price like shakes first and then rips. I'm like, well, shit, I already loaded up in this position. And so I don't know. I like the setup. Like I said, I think both Tesla and Apple are kind of like set to kind of set their next leg. The monthly chart, if you really kind of zoom out, I kind of like the look of the ascending triangle more to it than like just a flat base, which, yeah, you can even extend that to your left all the way down to like the OG freaking breakout down there, and then just draw a horizontal line across the highs, and you've got a big ass ascending triangle. So like I think it's leading to a point where, or a pinnacle where you'll be able to size up if you want to take this breakout or this move, but where it ultimately kind of finds that that kind of like that catalyst or trigger, or that like igniting bar, you just got to kind of be patient and wait for it.
What's the
we haven't really like
buy them tight, sell them loose?
Yeah,
It's also
I think your
prior month's high. And so we've had two inside months. We're working on a third inside month here, but this month has already taken out prior month's high. So price exploration above is always a good sign for the breakout that potentially could happen, right? And honestly, it's Tesla. It could go all the way back to the low of the range and then break out, or whatever it is. So, but I do like the fact that it penetrated last month's highs, and it's been holding last 3 days, right? So
yeah. I mean, I on every time frame, like I all around like it. It's just it's not. I don't know. It's not moving yet.
I mean, once you get above this 360 area, I pulled up the volume profile there just to give it a quick pick. I mean, there's not a lot above. There was some selling up in the 420 area, but I mean, that's pretty light in the grand scheme of things.
I feel like whatever
mark, that's what I got.
What is the ultimate catalyst here in Tesla that everyone is like what word is that gets Tesla to fucking just rip out of here?
So what for me, I would say, outside of just having a pretty solid base that it's building from, almost so over the last month and a half, every piece of good news has not had a reaction at all, right? They launched in India, nothing. They launched San Francisco robotaxi, nothing. They just got permitted for driverless robotaxi in Texas, Austin, nothing. They smoked it on earnings. But we all, like, for the most part, they're going to be sold out of their entire inventory because of the pull forward from the credit, right? So earnings this quarter should be pretty phenomenal and a return to growth, so to speak. It might just be one quarter, but that should be enough to bring people in. I don't know what the catalyst is. I never do with Tesla. And then either it goes or it doesn't go, right? But technically, it's sitting at the point where it broke out in 2021, right? So if you scroll this all the way back, bags,
sure,
right? What's 2021's high right there? That green kind of wick candle.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Before the final trap.
2021's high was 1450.
No, that's a complete high. But just go back on that. That was like the final trap move, right? But before that,
174.
yeah. So we've been kind of hovering below and above that for better part of 4 years with a lot of accumulation. So that's the level I think is really important here, and that's enough. And so any catalyst so far hasn't caused it to move, but when they're ready, it moves.
Yeah, Nick, I don't think it needs a catalyst necessarily. I don't think it needs a news drop.
Sure.
I think it's indexed so heavily that as long as the market stays bullish, it's going to stay bullish and continue to add, to the price. And I think once we get, let's say this is the monthly chart, I think once we get around that 350 area, I think people are going to pile in because it's just a multiplier, right? Tesla has been a multiplier in this market for the better part of, more than a decade, right?
Yep.
That's my thesis. That's my. We don't need to hear Elon talk about execution. We don't need to hear him about sleeping at the factory. We don't. I mean, I don't think it matters. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it has never mattered. It's all flow, right? And like if they start loading the calls 6 months out, 8 months out, year out, they're expecting the move to happen shortly.
Yeah, AAXAA in the chat said it's going to be robots with freaking laser beams. It could be.
Good, yeah.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters at all. Hey, Nick, when we were doing a little pre-show get-together, we talked about a few names. Tippus was one, and we touched on that briefly during Shitco Summer. But a quantum name that you had liked reported yesterday, RGTI. I mean, the setup looks pretty good, and it's a nice bounce back from the day's low. You still like this? You watching it? You in it? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I'm not in it currently, but I mean, I have my alerts set off or set at kind of the extremes of the range. So I did have one flicker off at 17, but I didn't do anything with it.
So you're looking at like 20 down to like 12?
Yeah, I have alerts set down to 13. I think I had that set from when the 50-day was prior, like when the 50-day was at 13. But I don't have I just don't have the room for or the capacity, like the mental capacity to kind of either take a starter and kind of sit with it. I'd rather just kind of let it kind of break out. I don't know what do the rest look like today?
Of quantum?
Yeah, they all look like shit. Ion Q is rolling over pretty hard. QUBT, that one's rolling. QBTS.
IWM higher day.
Yeah, they're all the rest of the quantum names are rolling, so no reason to be there.
We skimmed over hymns briefly. This has been one that you guys have played. GP, I know you're still in this. Nick, are you still playing this one?
No, it was one that I cut just prior to heading out of town. Just I don't know, on the weakness. It was a name that got axed.
Channels up here yesterday because somebody asked me to chart it. I think it needed to hold like 50, and that's on the weekly. The monthly, I mean, you got support at 44.50, which aligns with the top of these two prior candles. So without making one feel like, if I were interested, without feeling like I'm catching a knife, I would try to probably put a buy in there. But GP, I'm not so sure you think it'll get that low.
Yeah,
what makes me kind of nervous? Oh, go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say what. All right. What makes me kind of nervous about hymns is just on a much larger time frame. It didn't break out. It's not considered a breakout failure because it didn't actually tick into all-time highs. But in the most recent range, if you just had a range kind of set from like 40 to 65, that breakout above 65 and then failed there, being that we didn't really hold the 50-day or even kind of like the 10 or the 20. I kind of feel like it's either going to hold here, which wouldn't be a bad spot. And if it doesn't, it's likely going to head back to the 200-day, like the low 40s is kind of. And if it does that, I would be a little bit more cautious, as I would think that it would kind of like spike those lows and kind of take it out prior to holding. Like the trade there for me would be price spiking below 40 and then reclaiming it versus like just buying the 40 level outright. That's just kind of how I like. If I'm going to try and like finagle my way back into a position there, that's kind of where my head is at.
GP.
So I posted a chart about this. Ultimately, it's three attempts to break out, right? The first one got to 72, and then closed at 66.41, and then gap down, right? The next attempt got to 65 or something like that back in May, right? And then you had that monster 35% gap down. And then you got back to nearly the same place on earnings, and you gap down. Like, oh, can you do something different? Thanks. But ultimately, each gap down has found buyers at a higher base. So on volatile names like this, to be like, hey, it's got to hold one random moving average or a random pivot is gonna frustrate you. It's gonna chop you out. It's gonna do stuff like that. So the way I'm looking at this, because this is for me ultimately a long-term hold, but got to trim if it starts breaking levels so you can buy back lower, right? But so I'm watching this. So right now it's holding the gap down from May, right? So if you go to the daily, yeah. So that 35% gap down. What was that? That big red volume candle there. It might be June. Sorry, I might have the month wrong. June. Yeah, that one.
June.
Right. What's the highs there?
The high on that day is 48.35.
Yeah. So like we're sitting here testing that area right now on diminishing volume, as you can see as well. So as long as it's kind of holding this higher base, I'm pretty confident. And
yeah,
if
it's wildly oversold on the daily too.
Are you adding here, GP?
I'm not adding here. Why would I added when I thought was right, which was in the 40s, right? So now the next time I add is when it confirms the breakout, right? So the 72 levels. So we bought off the base, which is around 24, the all-time highs previously, and then about a 61% retracement of from 25 to 72 was around that 40 level. And so the next one will be, if I add, I don't even think I'm going to add, but if I add, it will be above that 73 level, right? You want to, if you haven't noticed in this markets in general, strength is begetting strength, right? And this is a market that we can argue all we want, but this is what we want from a bull market. When you have a trend higher, it continues higher. Look, number one example of this, number two examples of this are Palantir and Hood, right? The strength finds new buyers. They're doing something right, so more buyers are showing up. And that's one of the hallmarks of a solid bull market, right? We've been failing. We talked about this, 6 months ago on our old podcast, which is breakouts are actually breaking out in 2025, right? And so this is the definition of breakouts, breaking out, continuing, trending, and they all need resets. Don't get me wrong; they're just going nuts. But ultimately, these are all healthy signs of a clear bull market behavior, in my opinion.
Nick, one of the things we talked with Howard about last week, and something that we've gone into a lot, is selling is the hardest part, right? And we've talked about your style of setting trail stops, but specifically to a name like a Hood or a Palantir. If you were, I don't think you're holding either of those. Maybe you are. But
No,
how
Palantir.
would you look
I got both.
how would you look to layer in those trail stops way up here where price discovery is just, I mean, it's insane, right? I mean, both of these stocks
Like,
were $10 not too long ago in the grand, just in the grand scheme of things. They're pretty fresh stocks in the market, less than 4 years old. So how do you set those stops?
I mean, the easiest way to do it is mechanically, because it's just like there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like, you trail it by like 1 weekly ATR or 2 weekly ATR, depending on, again, we're talking about your time frame here. So like if you're a longer term position trader, you're probably trading off of a weekly chart versus the daily. But even looking at the daily, like just look at the moving averages that it continually respects. So like Palantir, for instance, it continually respects. It kind of followed the 10-day, but a lot closer to the 20 and the 50. So, you could look at it right now and say, hey, I want to set a stop at 165. If price rolls over, I think I should probably sell some. Or just throwing in at like 158 and then another one underneath the 50-day at like 140. At a certain point, like if you're gonna find yourself holding on to a position, you got to stop giving a fuck about like every daily candle, because like as long as price is trending above a certain moving average, and whatever moving average is like, I'm speaking moving average because it's indicative of that particular stock's like behavioral pattern.
Yep.
So if the behavior changes, sell a little bit. You could probably take any moving average you want and just kind of rule around it. But, moving averages are the easiest way, I think, along the lines of like either using like an ATR. I've heard of guys using like a bar low. So,
give me an example.
Like Palantir, for instance, if you're using like, let's say, a 6-bar low, you're using the 6-bar low after a new high has been made. So it doesn't count if price kind of like has like a bunch of inside bars. So like on Palantir, for instance, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So Palantir, your stop would be about 125 right now on the weekly.
So you'd go 6 bars back from the breakout, which I would say this August one right here would be the breakout, right?
Yeah, so 6 bars back.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you take the low there.
Yeah, just the low or somewhere kind of. I mean, if you're going to be holding it for price to revert back there, you might as well just set it underneath the range. Because if price does pull in, you still want to see it build out a base or a range, but like those longer term moving averages kind of just catch up and act as like a level of support underneath that high level base. I definitely think. I mean, what did Howard say about selling? Because I would agree. I think it's super. Throughout my entire career, I have found getting stopped out to be so flippin' easy. I don't care. I don't care if a trade like breaks out in favor and I get stopped out. But selling like a winner has always been the freaking challenge. And when I was like first starting out swing trading, like dude, I'd sell the first like 2 or 3 point rip. Then as I try to like broaden and hold longer term, like I find myself holding on too long and round tripping shit. So it's just kind of like finding, I think, your sweet spot of, again, kind of back to your time frame, knowing yourself.
I think there was a couple things that Howard, really went with. One was, piling into the indexes, right? Don't worry about being a stock picker. And then if you're stock picking, and the chart is down and to the right, then that's no bueno, and you shouldn't be in that position anyway. But you need to cut your losses. Otherwise, it was pretty much, I'm not selling. I'm just buying. Unless you need it, of course.
I think if you're, I mean, on a kind of side note or tangent, I think every short term, like whether you're a day trader, swing trader, like I think that's what you should be doing. If you're paying yourself, whether it's monthly or quarterly, reinvesting, those checks into like whether it's the index itself, the SPY or the Qs, or like one of those divvy paying ETFs. Because I don't remember, I was thinking about this on the treadmill the other day. I was thinking about like risk of ruin and like this idea that money is all kind of relative. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter if you've got 150,000 sitting in your account or 10 mil. Like, dude, you go on a drawdown and fucking lose your shit, you could be at rock bottom. I don't know. I don't know. I was just totally thinking about it, and I'm like, man, dollar cost average, time in the market, never fucking selling. Like, who cares?
One thing that we also mentioned as we did our little pre-show, someone on this panel, I'm not going to name any names, so I'll let the chat guess who this was, said crypto is the big swinging dick right now. I mean,
Yeah.
on first glance, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, you're going to say that's Bags. Bags said that, but it wasn't me. Nick, it was you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are on
Yeah.
the crypto train, at least short term. I see in the chat.
Well, I mean,
you like XRP.
I think I like XRP. I like ETH, obviously. I think ETH is getting, man, it's funny because I was thinking about fucking Trump tweeting. And how like Doozy always shares that freaking screenshot of like Trump saying like now's a good time to buy or whatever. But I think one of the Trump kids was tweeting about Ethereum too. I was like, dude, if this motherfucker's like telling me to just load the boat in Ethereum right now, I should totally do that. I didn't. I own Ethereum, but I didn't like. I didn't load the boat like I definitely thought that I should.
An arrow there where Bags told you to load the boat.
2,500. Yeah. Yep.
That's exactly where I loaded the boat. Wait, it was like the day before it broke out, which is awesome, by the way. Those trades are always the best.
You're only up 84% if you listen to me, and then GP reiterated it on a future show. And I think we're just getting started on this leg of the bull run, Nick. You've heard me talk,
I do too.
You've heard me talk ad nauseum about Bitcoin dominance, and lo and behold,
breaking.
When we hit this face first, almost at the same time, this was a Saturday morning, I said, expect some turbulence. And what did we get for the next 2 weeks? Some turbulence. And now we're in flush mode. This is just typical bear flag behavior, right? That's what that is. So I expect at least another leg or two down. I think this was number one. This was the end of number one. We're beginning number two, and I'm expecting Bitcoin dominance to flush. And boy, if we could get back down here into the mid to lower 50s, we're talking some big numbers on the Ethereums and the Solanas and the link chains. We went through the crypto money flow. You can do the math from there. But I think we're going to see some pretty big numbers. And Solana's just starting. So don't feel like you missed the boat on Solana. Solana's just starting. A break over 210, and Solana's going to go. At least from the way I see it.
And so here's one thing maybe we can talk about a little bit. A lot of times people think that Bitcoin dominance breaking down means Bitcoin's going to go red, right? And my understanding was that it just underperforms the asset. Correct. Do you mind clearing that up for our audience?
Yeah, Bitcoin dominance is Bitcoin versus the rest of the coins in the marketplace. So right now, if we pull that chart back up, Bitcoin is 59% of all of the crypto market cap, basically. So as it goes down, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's price goes down. It just means that the money's flowing from Bitcoin into other tokens. And I would expect to see that. I'm not saying we're going to get down here in the 40s like we were in 2020, 2021, and early 2022. Could it happen? Absolutely. But I don't know that I'm expecting that. But from where we were at just a few weeks ago to now is a 10% drop off. From where we were in the fall to the end of what was that, December? That was roughly 11%. So if we're going to break down like I expect we do, I would think somewhere in the, like I said, somewhere in the 50s would be nice. I don't think anything lower than, I'm not going to go out here and say we're going to hit 48%, but I could make a case for it. That's only going to make all these other coins that I have, all these other tokens that I have over here, just go up like crazy. So yes, GP, that's spot on. Bitcoin dominance going down does not mean Bitcoin's price is going down. It means money is flowing out of Bitcoin, or new money is flowing into all these other coins faster than it is Bitcoin.
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing about all this stuff is like when ETH, if you go back to the ETH chart, right? For a really long time, it's kind of just been sideways, right? For the most part. And you know how everyone's talking about ETH now, right? Like you got to remember some of the narratives is like these guys have been building and building and building their positions over time. Not the treasury companies, but like overall, people have been building, and now they're talking about it in a more positive way. I get that the big beautiful bill solidified stable coins and why this is now really important, but I think that's the part that when you're looking at technicals, knowing that there's a human narrative going on here, like they could have been talking about this months ago, right? They could have been talking about this years ago, but they're doing it now with the legislation passing, which means if stable coins are here to stay, which this administration is telling us, then most likely any price that you do sell at will be one that you regret.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think so too. I saw somebody tweet today. I don't know. It must be some crypto analyst, but basically, like they had changed their price point from like 7,500, which I found was interesting because I have a price target at 7,500 just based on the width of the range. They upped it to 25,000 by 2028 is what they think where they think this is going.
You're going to need, so that gets to like above a Bitcoin market cap right now. So you're going to need Bitcoin to go
Never
nuts,
sell.
right?
Sure.
Well,
Like you can't.
Well,
I'm not a maxi here in the fact that I say never sell. Obviously, if you have a great entry point, it makes it very difficult to sell if you're a believer in crypto in the long term, right? But at the same time,
yeah.
It makes it really hard to sometimes nearly round trip these moves. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm not saying Ethereum or Bitcoin or any of these tokens can't reach some of these unfathomable heights. I can remember, not too long ago, just before we even started our podcast, actually, that Bitcoin was still hovering, around $10,000, and I can remember the people who thought $10,000 was crazy in Bitcoin's price, right? But when you pull up all the ebbs and flows, right, then it makes it hard, right, to digest some of these swings, right? Like that's, let's just say you bought this dip right here on the breakout back in 2020. And then you live through what happened in 2022. Now, I'm not saying 100 and something comes down to $20,000 again. It could. Anything's possible. But you have to have the stomach to be able to withstand some of these moves, or just get out and sell. Right? I wouldn't advise anyone who's buying Bitcoin in the $100,000 to hold it if it came down into the 60s. Right? Like you're just chopping up your own money. So I'm not going to say it's a never sell, but you know I did well and I bought down here. So do you think I'm ever going to let that go?
Nah.
Probably not.
Nah.
Probably not. So I think it all mattered. So I've got a trading position on Solana, right? I think the last time we really talked about Solana, I said I have a very uncomfortable sized position in Solana. Well, that uncomfortable sized position is back, and I'm not going to watch it if it fails this breakout. I'm not going to watch it go all the way down to, what is that, $96 that it hit back in April. Not going to watch that happen. So you got to know, is this a trade? Is this a long-term hold? And I think in the world of crypto, it all matters about where your entry was and what your horizon is, right? Which is the same thing for stocks.
Yeah. So I actually think Solana is about to have his Ethereum moment, right? Like I'm talking about 2016, 2017. So you could see the shake all the way down there before it launches. But I like the quarterly chart on this is it's basing above the prior, like kind of rounding top, right? From 2021, 2022. It just looks so good from a long-term time perspective that if you are entering here and you're afraid of getting stopped out, maybe just enter half position, right? And so if you want to get in, you then have the other half.
Or just DCA that.
That's exactly right. Same whatever, same concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I
just keep buying more.
The kids,
just keep more.
Right. In 2020, we had our first child, and obviously months before that, I knew he was coming, and I was been DCAing in Bitcoin for the kids since before they were born. So, yeah, absolutely. DCAing is absolutely a way to go if you want to be a long-term investor, period. But we'd like to talk about trades too. And GP, I think you're exactly right. If this breakout fails, I don't know where in this range you'll likely come back into. But unless it breaks out, I'm not going to be afraid to, take my gains and run, right?
Yep.
Wow, this hour has flown by. Nick, it's so great to have you back. We still got about 3 minutes. If anyone wants to throw in one ticker, I will give it a look. But otherwise, Nick, let's do some final thoughts. One word of advice for the rest of the week for folks. We're
August, dog days of summer. It's not fun, in my opinion, to like balls to the wall, bet the farm. Just take it a day at a time. Don't YOLO it. At the same time, if the setup's there, don't be afraid to take it. It's just we're coming up on September, October, and then seasonally the strongest time of the year.
GP?
So the SPX is about to get a daily MACD cross up, by the way.
The SPX?
Yes. Or SPY, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Right? Daily MACD cross up, which is kind of crazy considering how it's been pushing, right? So I still think to me, this suggests that PPI is going to solidify that a rate is coming and the market is going higher. I've been talking about it for about a month and a half. We're going to 6730, 6700-ish on this move, and then we're going to get a flush. And so
we sell off post. You think sell off into that or I'm sorry, post rate cut then?
I don't know. I'm just saying in this moment where we are currently, I'm not talking about OpEx or anything like that, that the move is probably to the 6,700, 6,738 level. I've been sharing this SPX chart since 2023. Nothing has changed. It is the Fibonacci retracements and extensions. It hit the 100 extension in February and got demolished. It is now on the verge of hitting the 123 extension. That aligns with the double top move, which is a 10% move off the double top, hits that extension, comes back, retest, and then we launch again. Is my thought process. You guys can do whatever you want, fight the trend. The trend right now is not in your favor. If you're trying to short, maybe intraday, you get stuff, but
67, what number again, GP?
The extension gets me, so the 123.6 extension is 6738.
There we go. 67.
Which is bang on, which is like it's multiple confluence events, right? 10% move from a double top breakout and a Fibonacci retracement. It just makes sense that we're going to see a push towards there or around there. Don't crush me if we get to 66.99 or 66.50 or whatever.
I'm just going to mark 67.40 just for shits and giggles.
And from there, you think we pull back to like 61, 62?
We're going to get a quick few week retracement right back to 6,100 where everyone will undoubtedly call for the end of time. But don't forget the ultimate target. The ultimate target is still all the way up there at the 77.41 level that we've been talking about since 2023.
Maybe I'll get bearish again. Who knows? We'll see. If you're
going to get bearish, try to have it align with that level.
I mean, I'm no fool. I'm gonna use every tool that I have to try to make the best decisions that I can. Hey, we're out of time. I want to let everyone know that tomorrow I will be on the Daily Rip live at 9 a.m. right here on Stocktwits. So if you want to tune into that, you'll see your boy on a different show for a little bit. But happy to join those guys over there tomorrow. But hey, GP, Nick, I missed you. I love you. It's great to have you back. GP, these calls, they go way too quick, and I love hearing all of your reiterations. And again, I will tell you that it's 67.38. I love that you reinforce those numbers for us. But guys, this is it. Appreciate it. Thanks for everyone for tuning in and watching today. We cannot wait to see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Stocktwits Community Rip Live. Peace out.